So without further ado, let me welcome Christos to the stage.
Thank you and good morning. I'm really happy to be here in Cumbria. We've met during the last couple of years with several of you virtually or face-to-face through our local area energy planning engagement. We follow a bespoke approach that is to engage through bilaterals with all councils, and we do it with all councils in Cumbria. It applies to the whole of the network. We've also had the chance to engage through our DSO forums, where you would hear me talking about forecasting, planning, the data we share, all that. Now, this presentation is a bit different, and it's around the engineering process. We are a stakeholder-led and technology-enabled DSO, and I'll focus a bit more around both of them. And the focus is more on the technology, but it's important to say that this is stakeholder-led. The focus on this short slide pack is on technology, and more specifically on the engineering progress. When we talk about technology, people might think about IT, digitalization platforms. It's all of that, but it's also around engineering processes, engineering tools. And this is around the three key roles as defined by Ofgem for DSO, and this is around planning, system and network planning, system and network operations, and market development. This slide is more. I start more from a background on where we are now, and where we are in some key areas around the three key roles. So starting from planning, we lead the industry in forecasting. It's been more than 6-7 years that we've deployed our Atlas methodology. It's in business as usual. We had enhanced it through the time. It goes to lower voltages now. It's bottom-up time series. It covers. We've seen previously in John publishing stuff from our DFES. It allows us to publish more than 35 data sets. It goes down now. What is coming is also data on LV, and this is where we are in the forecasting space. When it comes to planning, we're also leading industry with our future capacity headroom model. This is a model used to inform reinforcement programs for business planning submissions, and it's compared to other alternatives used by the industry, like the transform model or WSP LCT planner. These are more granular models covering the whole of the network. It's server-based tools that it's big data computations, etc. Now, on operations, we have other DNOs. We have a centralized active network management system, and this is not a tactical solution. I'll talk more in detail on what this is and where we and the progress that we're making this year to go this technology live. And it's a tool that was previously in test environment, and now it's in production environment. We'll talk about how we can. We're moving forward and plan to go live this year. When it comes to markets, we use third-party flexibility service platforms. We traditionally use Picklo. We introduced Electron, and I'll talk about what processes we put in place now to make the flex services more, the use of flex services more attractive and more easy for flex providers to participate. And in terms of using standardized tools for decision making around flex, we previously developed the roadmap that was used and helped the wider industry at DNA level across all DNOs to produce a common evaluation model. And I'm going to talk about what we're doing this year to go to one step further on decision making. So my focus will be around these three areas. Will be on some major projects that are coming this year, and more around the progress made this year. On the planning side, we have a foresight program. This is a very ambitious project. You'll hear many ourselves and other DNOs talking about publishing data, publishing real-time things. But when it comes to planning, when it comes to load-related investment, all of us do things on annual cycles. Now, we have the ambition to automate that, reduce the manual interventions, do it far more frequently. Now, why is this helpful for stakeholders, for our customers? It's helpful because we can more dynamically capture the connections activity, things coming from local stakeholder plans, from local area energy plans, from local plans on economic growth, and this allows us to better coordinate the network, which means release capacity on time at lower costs, which means lower impact to energy bill payers. On operations, O&M, it's, as I said, it's in production environment and it goes live this year. Why is it important? It's important because we talk about flexibility services as a way to defer expensive reinforcement, but what we do here at Electricity Northwest is to release capacity for free before even going to flexibility services. And this is how we use our active network management. And again, this means releasing capacity at zero cost for and zero impact on energy bill payers. When it comes to markets, we focus on introducing LV flexibility services, which means that domestic customers can now participate for LV flexibility services. We've identified the needs, and we'll have now our first tender in autumn where we'll be introducing LV. It's not the first tender, it's the first tender for LV Flex. And we link third-party dispatch APIs from Electron with ENWL, A&M. So it's all making this accessibility. We increase accessibility of domestic customers to flexibility services, and we also replatform the real option CBAs, the decision-making tools using script-based to remove limitations and automate the decision-making. This means that this allows us to scale up the decision-making for flex services, so going to low voltages, going to big volumes, being ready for all that. Now, focusing on the Foresight program that is around planning. So we have this has been approved. We are kicking this off. And what this is automating the visibility and the forecasting side of things. When we talk about visibility, it's around load across the network, capacity headroom across the network, which is information that we share with stakeholders. We go down to connection points to each and every LV customer, covers all voltage levels, and this will be refreshed continuously. When it comes to forecasting, it's around long-term forecasts that are around the whole of the network, from EHV to LV, so from the interface with transmission down to low voltage networks, and we'll be capturing the ongoing activity for connections. You're probably aware of access SCR arrangements. For those that are not informed, it's around the new regime with lower connection costs. We already seen 250% more acceptances for connections. This highlights the criticality of this program to automate capturing all that and feeding that into our coordinated network development. We have stakeholders in the core of designing these tools. So what we intend to do is have a stakeholder session this year to allow you inform the direction of travel. There will be new tools, dynamic tools around pre-connection assessments, for example. We'd like to welcome stakeholders to share their views on what you'd like to see on pre-connections. So many of you or developers working for you, if you're a local authority rep, are interested on here and now, where can I connect, how it's going to cost me, how fast am I going to connect. So we want to improve through new tools and make this experience much smoother so that you can go in a portal, provide some data, get more accurate information that is closer to the process that planners follow. So we'd like you to understand from your side what that you really want these tools to look like. When it comes to information on demand, capacity, what is the information that you really look like. So this year we're doing a stakeholder engagement session to inform these tools and everything in Foresight project. So we've kicked off this year the project. We're doing it's stakeholder led, and we are also, there is parts of this project that is around automating processes. There is also parts where we need research like the LV forecasting, very granular levels. So there will be an innovation project that we're also kicking off around that those elements. Moving to the next area, the second role that is around operations, we have our active network management. Now, how it's different? We are saying it's industry leading, if not world leading, because it's real-time controlled. It's not a tactical solution that you'll see deployed by other DNOs, which means that there is predefined solutions to any event. In our case, it's centralized. Anything that happens in real time, there is a power flow solution, there is real-time decision making, and this active network management is informed, this decision making is informed by, as shown here, by the middle of this flowchart, by merit order management. So we started releasing capacity by minimum cost options, transferring load automatically, then moving to flexible connections, moving to flexibility services. And moving forward now, we want this to be linked with a third party that will make the flex provision more seamless to customers. So through a flex service platform that is linked with A&M, and the API dispatch, procurement to API dispatch will be done by a third party, and we work with Electron on that. Why is this important for customers? It allows us mass scaling so moving forward, getting more flex across all voltage levels. It doesn't take us months to have that embedded. It's a matter of days. We don't need to hardwire things. It's capacity released at no cost, so it's benefits for bill payers, and it allows us also now. It's also important for those stakeholders that have experienced also issues and delays around connections. So delays associated with transmission capacity constraints. Now with A&M, we can solve these issues. We can deal with that. We can accelerate connections that face projects that face transmission constraints. So this year, earlier this year, we moved A&M in production environment, and the plan is for A&M to go live with several zones of our network. So when we talk about zones, we talk about areas supplied by BSP substations, primary substations. These are substations that supply more than 10,000 customers, so it's large parts of the network. And our aim is to fully utilize the benefits of A&M. It will be linked with new connections, and will actually, it's been a journey that took us time to develop these capabilities that are different, are unique in the industry, but now it's the time to go live and materialize these benefits for our stakeholders and customers. And another thing that I didn't mention, and it's relevant on operations, is that this year we also update our operational decision-making framework to provide more transparency on how we make decisions on operations. And the last area is around markets and focusing on flexibility services. As I said, we are introducing an LV flexibility service product in our tenders, and we are going with the first set of 15 secondary substations that supply around 3,000 customers. There is no limits for kilowatts, so even we make that more easy for anyone to participate, and it's something that is happening in our autumn tender that will be published very soon. When it comes to decision-making automation, as I said, we've already replatformed the Real Option CBA. This is an advanced tool for decision-making developed by an innovation project, and it was the foundation that moved to the simpler common evaluation model that is used across the industry, across all DNOs for decision-making between flexibility services and enforcement options. Now, it was more complicated to do it for OCPA, for the Real Option CBA, and we decided to do it for the CAM. There's an ENA group that is working with that, so we're going to provide advice and guidance for the adoption across the industry of the CAM tool replatforming. This will allow us to automate, to reduce the manual issues from scaling up the decision making for LV Flex and bigger volumes of Flex. So it's really handy that we have this up and running now. When it comes to Flex provision, as I said, we made an end-to-end seamless process, working with Electron Connect and who are providing a platform for Flex. This means that customers that want to provide flexibility services, they can go to the platform, and they deal with from procurement to dispatch with a single provider. There is an API dispatch. There are links that we establish with our active network management to make safe that in case that something doesn't work well with the dispatch, we make sure that there is a safe network operation. And when it comes to operational data, we're currently developing an ICCP link with the NISO, and there is delays from NISO side, but we're proactively working with our NISO colleagues to make that happen. And data are now in our open data portal this year in scope, increasing data exchanges. This was the last slide. Thank you very much, and I'll leave the floor to my colleague Paul. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for attending today's session, both in person and online. It's fantastic to see so many representatives of different stakeholders that sit across our region. My name is Paul George. I'm the DSO commercial lead here at ENWL. For the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to talk to you about some of the activities that myself and the team perform in terms of delivering that DSO transition across the region. And apologies in advance, there's going to be a few repetitions in terms of what Ben's discussed, what Christos and what Nina have discussed as well, but I think it's really important that we bring up the emphasis on some of the key things that are driving what we do, and more importantly, how we do it. So the energy industry is evolving. I think we all know that. I think Ben touched upon the 3 Ds, so decentralization, decarbonisation and digitalisation. These are kind of really driving every aspect of the energy industry, not just in the UK, not just in the Northwest, but indeed globally. And I think it's really important that we recognise that what's happening in the Northwest is very much a microcosm of what's happening everywhere else. So it's very ubiquitous across the whole energy spectrum. During the slides that I'm going to go through, I want to bring to life, I think, the economic, the environmental benefits, but I think more importantly, the opportunities that it presents to everybody in the room, from all the organisations and entities that you represent. So kind of the first slide, we've talked about DSO. So I think it's really important to understand the origination of DSO. And I think in order to do that, we need to think about the distribution network operator, the DNO. So traditionally, the grid has been built on a very kind of one-way system power flow from generation, transmission, into distribution, into the homes and businesses in the region. What's kind of happening is in terms of we see the emergence of low carbon technologies, be it behind the meter generation for commercial entities. Nina's already touched upon that's happening in the domestic space with the ESAs. So there's much more assets connecting to our network at a bigger scale than we've ever seen. There are some challenges in terms of the capacity that we have on our network, and we know that we need to increase that capacity due to all of the connecting assets which are looking to hit our network out to 2050. So we can see that in terms of there's lots of distributed energy resources coming online, be it EVs, be it heat pumps, be it solar and storage. Again, this is across the domestic and the commercial space. So we need to think about some innovative ways in which we can manage that multi-directional power flow while creating some more additionality and some more value from how we manage and operate our network. So I think the key takeaway from this slide is to think about, again, managing those bi-directional power flows. How can we extract more capacity from our existing network to ultimately defer network reinforcement? Why are DSO flexible services important? Now, I think the challenge for me today has been to condense all of it into 10 minutes, but I'm going to attempt to do so. There's kind of 3 fundamentals that we're looking to achieve as a team in terms of what my team delivers. And the first one is around unlocking flexibility in the distribution network. We've heard a lot about flexibility today. We will delve into it a little bit more deeper. The second one is around reducing network investment. So again, deferring network reinforcement costs by utilising and leveraging the distributed energy resources that sit within our region today, and more importantly, those planned assets that are coming online. And I think the third item as well is we've heard a lot about the data piece. So we receive lots of data, and it's important for us to interpret that data, to be prescriptive big data, as we heard from John, and about leveraging that data to increase low carbon technology penetration across our region. And in terms of the diagram here, hopefully you can see that there's kind of three components to what we do. And I think just very simplistically, it's a very continuous cyclical process. So the more low carbon technologies we can connect onto the network, the more potential participation we've got in flexible services, the more data that creates, the more we can interrogate that data to help us make more informed decisions when we go around the cyclical process the next time round. I think what's really important is that it's, again, I mentioned earlier on about those economic and environmental benefits. We want to bring to life not just the value to us as a network, we've got some very challenging aspirations across some very diverse parts of our network. We want to personify and bring to life the benefits to people in the room. So kind of two sides of different sides of the same coin, if you like. But the customer benefits, kind of decentralisation, decarbonisation, we've touched upon them, and each benefit, if you like, informs the next. So decentralising, decarbonising your businesses, your homes, will build resiliency. That resiliency will ultimately impact how you can control the cost and security of supply in the homes and the businesses. We want to help the region and businesses that sit within it sustain and stimulate. So whether that be a local authority region, whether that be a commercial entity, whether that is increasing market share, whether it's increasing profit share, shareholder value, or reinforcing or solidifying positions in certain supply chains, or even getting access to new supply chains. It's thinking about how all of these services can support, sustain, and stimulate existing businesses. And again, they can attract new investment into the company as well, or again, from a regional perspective. And this is all kind of leading to and laddering up to the acceleration of net zero. I think the other side of the coin, so from the network's perspective, we want to facilitate a greater number of connections, again, to accelerate that net zero journey. We want to improve the speed of access to our network, which is really key for our customers in terms of aligning with the timescales and their needs. We want to increase the resiliency of our network so it can perform better and develop that smart, efficient, low carbon network. Again, thinking about what we deliver to the customers and businesses that sit within our region. And I think Nina touched quite rightly in terms of the role that we play in the Northwest, and again, how that ladders up to what's happening across the wider UK energy landscape. So those whole system benefits are key to us, and that interaction between the DSO and the ESO from a flexibility piece. So three key functions of the team, if you like. So it's around capacity management and managing constraints. Our flexibility services proposition, if you like, is a convergence of three key components: capacity management, connections to the network, and demand side response. Just to unpack those individually slightly. So the first aspect of capacity management, we're trying to release capacity for free. We know that we need to extract more capacity onto the network, and we're going to do that initially through a desktop analysis, if you like, to try to deliver some value through some analytical process, where we're looking at the maximum import capacity, we're looking at the maximum export capacity, and we're trying to see where we can squeeze some additional capacity from our network. What we're then doing, the next stage in the process, is kind of validating those findings, if you like, with you, our customer base, which could result in revising those MICs and NECs, which in turn can reduce GWOS costs. So that is an economical and environmental benefit to doing that. From a connections perspective, I've already mentioned that we want to improve the access to our network. So removing barriers of connection, which is really key for us, accommodating LCT uptake, which is going to drive those net zero aspirations, providing bespoke and customer-centric solutions. So again, it's thinking about how we can provide innovative solutions to ultimately think about the time scales and the needs of you, the businesses and the entities that sit within our region. And again, it's thinking about those regional benefits to the network and to our customers on a mutual perspective. And then the last part of the process is thinking about flexibility. So procuring flexibility. We spoke about the benefits of it in terms of deferring network costs, but we're trying to make this, again, kind of a win-win scenario. We need to defer network costs, but we also want to be able to financially reward participants that participate in our flexible services tenders. So as a way of managing constraints of our network, we're trying to create some revenue streams for our customers, which again is a cost-effective solution for us, it's a cost-effective solution for our businesses and our stakeholders, again through rewarding customers for participation in those tenders. And again, back to the point, we're about delivering whole system benefits. So again, being absolutely wrapped around what we're trying to achieve in the Northwest, but being very cognizant of what's happening on the wider UK energy landscape. I think the last part of this is step one in terms of the capacity management is quite administrative. There's lots of things we're doing behind the desktop, a lot of analysis. As you move down towards step three in terms of procuring flexibility, that's the kind of really exciting component of what we do. And the reason it's exciting is it's very participative in the sense that we rely upon and we call upon the people in the room and the businesses that sit within our region to kind of help us deliver and procure that flexibility from. So before I go into some of the new developments and progress, I think we've already touched upon the stakeholder-led organisation, very customer-centric. We do try to keep our finger on the pulse in terms of what the region is asking us or kind of subliminally asking us to do. So we very much take the ethos and the stance of we ask, you said, we do. So that kind of underpins and drives all the decisions that we make across all of our work streams. So Christos has mentioned in terms of how we can provide more depth and breadth to our flexible solutions. One of those is the introduction of low voltage on our secondary substation. So we're introducing circa 15, 16 substations, which have been identified as the testbed for kind of longer term projects. This is what we will implement in our autumn 24 tender. We'll evaluate the performance of this and can develop this as we move forward into our subsequent tenders. The next aspect, which is really key for us, is targeting the constraint management zones. Where we're procuring flexibility, we have constraints on the network. That's pretty clear. So we're not just looking at those zones where those assets are live. We're thinking about where assets can be developed as well. So what we're doing is collaborating really closely with local authorities, we're collaborating with developers, aggregators, industrial commercial businesses, to think about providing a laser-like focus on where we can hone in on those constraint management zones to create the value, create the win-win situation for the customer, for the businesses, and for us as a network as well. So again, the key thing for us is it's not just being short-sighted and thinking about what are the assets that sit within the region, it's where can we shape and influence new assets being developed across the region as well. Access to markets, really key for us as well. So again, Christos has mentioned around we utilise third-party platforms. We're trying to evolve and improve the access to our flexibility markets. Again, trying to increase the breadth and depth of these markets. We've already talked about the emergence of domestic in the flexibility space. I think we can all acknowledge that traditionally, the flexibility markets and demand side response have been really pigeonholed at those medium to larger sized businesses with the capacity to provide that flexibility. But again, with the emergence of heat pumps in the homes, and solar and battery storage, we're trying to aggregate that and use that to kind of drive some additionality in terms of what we offer within our flexible services tenders. Another additive that we've done to that as well is in terms of lowering the participation threshold. So previously we'd had some fairly high kind of hurdles to jump and participate in a flexible tender. But what we're trying to do now, we've lowered that down to 10 kilowatt, be it standalone or aggregated, which will hopefully lend itself to a more domestic audience as well as smaller businesses. And again, we're always looking to be including more low carbon emerging technologies as well within the space, thinking about how fast they can respond and what type of flexibility they can provide to us as well. I think the last thing for us in terms of being really key, and again, I'll stress the point, is we sit within a regulated space. We have to do certain things, but I think it's more important as well in terms of how we do it within that framework. So one of the things that we want to be focused on, one of the things that we've heard from our audience across our region is about identifying and implementing strategies for delivering social benefits, be it through a local authority, through a commercial entity, or through community-based assets. What can we do to drive and deliver some benefits into our communities? Some of the items that we're kind of toying with at the moment is how do we redistribute the revenue to local authority regions in particular. So again, if we can encourage local authority regions and the constituents, if you like, to participate in flexible services tenders, redistribute that revenue that they will earn, and develop community-based assets, which again, everybody can benefit from. I think the other thing for us is that we've heard the word collaborate quite a few times today, but I'm going to develop that a little bit further as well and put 2 additional C's into the mix. So as a business, Electricity North West, we're trying to support and contribute to the growth of the region through collaboration. But I think more importantly for us as well, we're trying to co-create and co-deliver what we do and how we do it in order to extract more value for you, our customers and stakeholders. And we want to be able to contribute to, again, the businesses that sit within our region to really achieve those fiscal targets, those decarbonisation targets. What can we do to support businesses and the region as a whole in that process? So I've mentioned that we've got our autumn 24 tender, which is going to be released in a couple of weeks. It's going to see the inclusion of low voltage flex. I'm hoping the previous slides I've just gone through whet the appetite, stimulate some questions potentially in terms of interest in that tender. We've got a full section on our website with the Flexibility Hub, which we can share with you, which will give you details, very granular information in terms of contracting, agreements, the site requirements, the half-hour requirements, and lots of tools in terms of what we need, where we need it, and more importantly, how can we quantify the potential value to participants in that as well. Again, I mentioned that we want to be able to think about what the network needs are for Electricity North West, but more importantly, how can we maximise the commerciality of these products as well to people that participate in these tenders. Last slide. Really easy process in terms of participating in our flex tenders. We've already heard that we've got some third-party platforms. We utilise Electron Connect and Piccolo Max. Really easy process in getting involved in these. My team and myself are here to kind of have some one-to-ones and talk you through that process. Really pleased that we partner with Electron Connect, who are more of our end-to-end partner. They will help you navigate the markets, understand the markets. They will help you think about where you should place your assets, kind of really hands-on and consultative in that respect. And they manage everything from advertising the tenders to participating in them, bidding in them, and then that whole dispatch and settlement process as well. On that note, I'm going to shed the spotlight to 2 people sat in the middle of the room. So really pleased that we've got 2 representatives from Electron Connect here today. So we've got Jeremy and Ashton. If you can raise your hand, please. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I know these guys would really welcome any engagement with you in terms of understanding more about the platform and indeed more about our markets in general. So that concludes my segment. Again, the biggest challenge for me was condensing that into 10 minutes. So really keen to speak to people in the room. Feel free to reach out to me during the break time. Big thank you for attending today. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. I'm going to hand over now to Jonathan Booth, Head of Asset Management.
Thank you, Paul. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Jonathan Booth, Head of Asset Management for Electricity North West, and I'm standing between you and networking / lunch. But if you bear with me for 10 minutes or so, I'm going to talk through, been a lot of D's today, this morning. I'm just going to spend 10 minutes talking through what I think is probably the biggest D of them all, which is data. So none of the DSO functions that we've talked about this morning are successful or unlocked without data. So we're going to spend 10 minutes just going through some of the means by which we make in the room today, John, of how that data is being used in practice. We do have data experts in the room for you to talk to later in the session, and we do have a round table after lunch specifically on data for you to come and join us and discuss in more detail if required. So Nina covered a lot of this from the regulatory perspective. The world of data is complex, and the needs and requirements are evolving all the time. The data portal is our response to a lot of this, where we're making our one-stop shop for serving the data needs that come from this quite complex external environment. So we have drivers that are requiring us to produce more data sets, make them available in new forms. You'll see data best practice on here, as Nina mentioned before, excuse me. And what that means is that we have to accommodate a whole wide range of data needs and requirements in a way that is meaningful to people who interact with us as a business and have very specific needs in terms of what they want to use the data for. And the answer, and it has been mentioned a few times today, is our data portal. So the data portal requires registration. Once you register, you will see a catalogue of data sets available, and they're catalogued in the way you can see on the screen in terms of their characteristics, the information that's there, the information that's available, the way it can be analysed, the way it can be viewed, etc. So you can actually see and work your way through the different types of data that are available for you. And that data falls into two main categories, spatial and non-spatial. So the way I think about it, can I put it on a map or can I put it in a chart? And within the data portal, there are mapping and charting tools that you can use to be able to develop your own insights and your own visualizations. And once you're on the portal, you can then save those so you can access them again next time you log in. You don't have to recreate them every time you have a session. Also within the portal, three key things. There are custom visualizations, as I mentioned, so you can create your own views of the data that's important to you. Data can be downloaded and used in your own systems. It can also be made available through APIs to integrate it into other proprietary systems that you may have. And I think John gave us an example before of how CAFs have been using some of the scenario data to sort of inform the work they've been doing on Net Zero Cumbria. Running behind me, just over the next bit, are some visualizations just to whet your appetite, to see the sorts of things that are available and the things you'll be able to use. Again, if you've got any specific queries or questions on some of this, then please approach us during the networking. Come and join the data round table after lunch, and we'll be happy to talk through more detailed specific needs and requirements that you might have and how we best serve them. So when you're a registered user, you'll be able to see and visualize data in a variety of formats. This is boundary flow data. We have geospatial data to do with the region, the control boundary, our control areas. You can look at, and John had an example of this in terms of heat pump take-up, for example. You can extract and you can filter and you can amalgamate data for particular geographies or particular types. You can look at the scenarios that Christos mentioned before as well. And you can look at geospatial data. So we've got a few here which are broadly centered on Penrith. Not always quite accurately, but generally Penrith appears in these maps just to sort of zoom in and give some local flavour. So this is the embedded capacity register in terms of around the Penrith area, what's already connected in terms of distributed generation. This is the flexible services map, which Paul will be delighted if this could have more and more pins on it as a consequence of the upcoming tenders. We can look at HV capacity. So this is the HV capacity map centered on Penrith. We're just off the southwest of this chart, but just creeping on to the bottom corner of the map here. We can pick up more strategic documentation like the network development plan. This is centered on Manchester, and then you can start to do things with it. So you can highlight a number of substations and pull them together and look at doing analysis on a particular area, grouping bits of data, splicing views together. It's a very flexible platform to be able to pull different data sets into one place. More geospatial, you can look at the network itself in terms of the overhead line. This is the encircling of Penrith by the overhead line network. And this is the fault history, where you can see fault history for unplanned outages in particular areas, road-to-load disconnections. There's a whole wealth of information available on there that you can visualize in ways that are meaningful to your particular requirements and your particular function. Smart meter penetration around the shores of Windermere, should anybody be interested, it's there. Some of the new things that we've been putting on recently in response to particular stakeholder needs, we've put maps on in terms of where we've removed overhead lines for visual amenity within the national parks. If there are particular requirements that we have, this came from a particular request from a number of stakeholders, let us know and we can make the data available to you. When you are registered on the portal, the other key tool that you'll get access to is our Network Asset Viewer platform, where you can navigate around the entire network area. Looks like the map on the screen. It's geospatial focused, and you can see the existing network in some detail in terms of its current configuration, layout, location, etc. So the portal's developing all the time. There are a number of developments already in train and planned, which I'll show you if this moves on. So the slide lists some of the data sets that are currently in development, which will be appearing on the portal soon. And these are all the results of previous stakeholder engagements in terms of requests for visibility of data and information and making it available. We also have a dedicated inbox. So after the event, or if ever you want to contact us around specifically around Data Portal, we have a dedicated mailbox which is monitored by my team. So drop us an email and we'll happily arrange a one-to-one if necessary, or we'll advise over email in terms of whatever data query that you might have. And also on that slide is the link to the portal itself. We're also particularly interested in how people use the information that we make available. So we're really interested in use cases. We're really interested in the feedback for the usability of the data itself, because we can, in dialogue with yourselves, develop the data offering and make sure that it's of most use to you guys, the people who will actually put it into action. And through putting it into action, we can then deliver the 4, if not 5 Ds that Ben started the whole session, introduced us to right at the start. So a quick reminder, we've got experts in the room, grab me, I'll be able to point you in their direction if I can't answer the question. We also have a round table after lunch if you're able to stay and join us with specific data queries. If you don't, or if the thought comes to you as you're driving safely on the way home, please contact us via the dedicated inbox and we'd love to have that conversation. Thank you very much.